Have you ever really stopped to think about where public money actually goes?
It's a good question.
Because sometimes, a news story just pops up and it makes you look twice at what might be happening behind the scenes.
Absolutely.
So today we're doing a deep dive into some recent news out of Brazil that definitely caught our eye.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about how public funds are being spent
Oh.
and also this new kind of legal protection for certain officials.
Right, two significant angles there.
Yeah, we've got some exclusive reporting details on a brand new law, lots to unpack. So our mission today is pretty clear. We'll have to get into this, figure out what it actually means, and, why it matters to you.
Sounds good. This is a really crucial area, how public money is handled, the legal shields. It says a lot about priorities, about values.
Exactly. So let's jump right into this first story. It's almost hard to believe, frankly. Jovem Pan, they've got this exclusive report alleging a massive fraud scheme involving Brazil's National Institute of Social Security, the INSS.
Ah, yes. The pension system.
Right. And the figure they're reporting, it's our $6.3 billion.
Billion with a B.
Billion with a B, supposedly diverted from retirees, from pensioners, through these illegal discounts.
Wow. That's an enormous sum of money. Just to put it in perspective, think what that could fund in terms of, actual public services.
It's exactly my thought. And here's a bit of a twist. Sources close to the unions, the ones involved in these discounts apparently, are reportedly thinking about a plea bargain.
Okay, so possibly admitting some involvement.
Possibly. But get this, there's an assistant from one of the groups being investigated who's apparently claiming this whole thing, this fraud. It grew bigger and bigger over time.
Right.
Helped along, they claim, by members of Congress and influential contacts inside the government and even banks.
So what's really fascinating there is the potential scope of it all.
Mm-hmm.
You're talking alleged involvement stretching from unions possibly right up through, parts of the government and financial institutions.
Yeah.
It really makes you ask about the oversight, doesn't it? What checks and balances were supposed to be in place?
Were they working?
Or were they just not adequate? Or maybe bypassed? It points to potential vulnerabilities in the system itself.
Right. It feels less like a one-off thing and maybe something more systemic. Anyway, let's pivot. There's another item that definitely raised my eyebrows. On a different scale, perhaps, but still.
Okay.
Prosecutors in São Paulo, it seems they've been given a rather special kind of benefit.
Oh.
They're calling it Auxílio iPhone. iPhone aid.
iPhone aid. Seriously?
Seriously. So each active prosecutor, there are 397 of them,
Right.
is getting a one-time payment. $22,000 each.
$22,000. For what exactly?
To buy electronic devices,
Yeah.
smartphones, computers, that kind of thing. And here's the kicker. The devices become their personal property.
Their own property, not state equipment.
Their own property.
Wow. Okay, so $22,000 times nearly 400 people.
Yeah.
That's not insignificant.
You did the math faster than me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Crunching the numbers, it's about $8 million.
Yeah.
Out of public coffers.
8 million. Okay.
Now, the Attorney General's office, they have a justification. They say the money comes from legal fees. Money the city got from winning lawsuits.
Ah, okay. So earmarked funds, essentially.
Right. So they argue it doesn't directly hit the main city budget. Like it's not taking away from schools or hospitals directly is the argument.
That's an interesting point they raise about the source of the funds.
Yeah.
But if you connect that to the bigger picture of public money,
Yeah.
it still makes you think about priorities, right? Even if it's technically legal, using earmarked funds this way, is this the best use?
Exactly.
Especially when you consider, public perception.
Right.
How does the average person, maybe struggling with their own bills, see this kind of perk, regardless of where the money technically came from?
That's exactly where my head went. I mean, let's not forget, these prosecutors, they're already earning around $46,000 a month.
Right. That's a very high salary in the Brazilian context.
It's more than the mayor earns. So are we really saying they can't afford their own phones or laptops for work? It just feels a little tone deaf, maybe.
It certainly highlights a potential gap, doesn't it,
Mm-hmm.
between the compensation for some top officials and the economic reality for a lot of the people they serve.
Yeah. Okay, let's move to the third thing. And this one gets into some really fundamental questions about the law itself.
Right.
There's a new law, Law 15134. Signed just recently, May 7th. And what it does is it increases the penalties for assault.
Okay. Increased penalties for assault. Against whom?
That's the key.
Yeah.
Against specific public officials
Yeah.
and their families.
Their family.
Yes, their families. So the list includes judges, prosecutors, bailiffs, public defenders, public attorneys.
Okay, a range of legal and justice system officials.
Shields their family.
That explicit mention of families, that's definitely a notable step.
Notable is, putting it mildly, I'm really sort of wrestling with this one. The whole idea that assaulting a family member of, say, a judge should carry a harsher penalty just because of who they're related to.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like it bumps up against that basic idea, equality before the law. Isn't everyone supposed to be equal?
Well, what's fascinating, legally speaking, is that explicit extension. If we think about the justice system as a whole, it does raise a serious question.
Which is?
Does this effectively create maybe a two-tiered system where the consequences for the same act depend on who the victim is related to?
Right.
Could it lead to a perception, at least, that the law values the safety of these specific families more than the safety of, say, everyone else?
Exactly. I was thinking, imagine like a fight breaks out, just a random argument, and one person shoves another.
Okay.
But they don't know that the person they shoved is, I don't know, the prosecutor's cousin or something. Suddenly, because of this law, the penalty for that shove could be way worse than if they'd shoved someone else, like a teacher or a shopkeeper. It almost implies that assaulting the general public just matters less legally.
It certainly introduces that potential for a perception of inequality in how justice is applied. Now, the argument for protecting officials often relates to protecting the integrity of the justice system itself, preventing intimidation.
Sure, I get that for the officials themselves, maybe.
But extending that special protection to family members, that definitely brings up these broader societal questions about who gets extra legal safeguards and why.
Right. Okay, so just to recap our deep dive today, we've hit on three pretty distinct things, but they feel kind of connected, don't they?
They do seem to touch on related themes, yes.
You've got this alleged huge fraud with public pension funds.
Potentially involving high-level connections.
Then you have this special iPhone aid benefit for already well-paid officials, justified by where the money came from.
Raising questions about resource allocation and fairness.
And finally, this new law giving extra legal protection not just to certain officials, but to their families, too.
Which touches on fundamental principles of equality under the law.
So tying it all together, these different pieces offer a glimpse into, well, the complicated reality of public money and legal systems, doesn't it?
It really does. How resources are managed, how laws are structured and applied. It's complex.
And that kind of leads to our final thought for you, listening. When you consider all these different angles, the alleged fraud, the specific benefits, the potentially unequal legal protections, what are the really big questions we should be asking here? About how public money is actually used, how the law is applied. Ultimately, what does it really mean to serve the public? And maybe who really benefits from the way things are set up? Definitely something to chew on.